Hi, welcome to Family Sense. Family Sense is dedicated to equipping every man, every woman, every husband, every wife with practical wisdom on family and marriage, especially in these toughest times. This is a production of No Regrets Communication, a division of Hope Education Network. Should you have any questions or need any information, please feel free to contact us on 0772 518 554. You can also contact us on 0754 734 738. You can also email us on noregrets@counselor.com. Right now, join in for insights from today's session. God bless you.
It's part of what God desires you to do, but there is something more to it. What does he say? Moreover, when God gives any man wealth and possessions, and he enables him to enjoy them, to accept his lot and be joyful in his work, this is a gift of God. Nobody can give that gift. When you receive wealth and possessions and you are able to enjoy them, be joyful in your work, who gives that gift? And you find so many people are frustrated, afflicted, and angry, but they have 1 trillion shilling on account. We are dealing with this matter called profit, but I want you to profit properly so that you don't lose yourself in trying to get the material wealth. But when you have the material, you should still remain what? Joyful. And what does he say in verse 20? He seldom reflects on the days of his life because God keeps him occupied with gladness of heart. You even make material wealth, but you are so occupied with gladness of what? Heart. I've got a joy, 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 down in my heart, well down in my heart. Hey, down in my heart, I've got a joy, 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 down in my heart. Oh, glory to his name. I am so joyful, yea, so very joyful. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. I am so joyful, yes, so very joyful. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. Where you are so preoccupied with joy that you now have no time for frustration. You have no time for anger. You have no time for just being too. Hello? Is that godly? And you realize that is the biggest gift many times people who have a lot of money actually don't have. So I lead you to that path. I want to make sure when we talk about profit, you should be able to tell that really I'm gaining profit. Whole, full profit. Full profit, not just money. Not just wealth, not just 1,000 land titles in Kampala. Come on. Because life is not just about money. Yet when you have the money, you even know what to do with. So that you have money to do, not money having you to do. You know, there is a way money can have you. to do for it things instead of you having the money to do for you what you need to do. You can have a Pajero driving you instead of you driving the Pajero. Telling it where to go, not it telling you and giving you journeys to go to. You know, we are so used to the twisted way that we miss it. And I'm still trying to find time to make sure we profit. Don't lose track of profit. Okay? So there is a spiritual revenue. Part of that revenue is overflowing what? Joy in your heart. Are we together? And by the spiritual cost can be a disappointment. You know, and how many times do you get disappointed in a day? Or even in a week? So many times. But the joy, the revenue of the joy in the Lord cannot let you get into frustration. Yes. And those are the promises of God. You find them all over. What does John 15:11 say?
I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete.
Complete what?
Joy.
Where? And you enjoy what? Can you a happy life or you can enjoy life? I'm not talking about happiness. Happiness, you need something from outside to make you feel what? Happy. Joy bobs from what? The inside. You become so solid in there. You have so much revenue that it just overflows. You're able to sing, I'm so glad that Jesus set me free. Yes, I'm so glad. You are so in it all the time, preoccupied. Even amidst disappointments, you are able to see what to do, even when you are disappointed. And the disappointers, you won't stop them. They keep coming. I'm not saying people will not disappoint you. Does that mean you should be discouraged because you've been disappointed? And there are times you will wake up. What is that statement saying? There is no work that makes all profits all the time. Now, when you wake up in the morning expecting to make a 10,000, and you lose, and instead you end up with a loss of 2,000. It's a disappointment. And how many times do we change businesses because I made a loss of 2,000? Other than seeking God, grant me the wisdom on how I can avoid this loss next time. And that's the way. God grants you what? Wisdom. What is the church meant to do? To reveal, to display God is what? Wisdom, even for business, for economy. There is no work in this world that makes all profits all the time. So you'll be disappointed sometimes. If you get discouraged because you've been disappointed, you are too weak. Okay? Sometimes people failed even to have these material rewards because they are discouraged. They stop doing something, then they run to another, then they run to another, and they never leave P1 clever. They never graduated to P2 wise. They remain in where? P1 clever. You can look back at the things you've done over the last 1 year or even 2 years or 3 years. If you are hopping from this to the other, try this, you will never leave class. In fact, you might even demote you. So there is no work that makes all losses all the time. Just be sure of that. If you're going to deal with this matter called profit, you had better prepare yourself for that. And that's why in accounting language we talk about what? The balance between profits and what? Losses. Balancing between what? Profits and losses. And in accounting language, if I have an accountant here, we talk about the P and what? P and L. We don't say the profit account. We talk about P and what? Yeah. Because sometimes there are times when you'll make losses, sometimes you'll make profits, but altogether the journey should be smoothened off. That's what we were reading for the next verses in, you remember in Proverbs 27? Be careful, give careful what? Attention to the condition of your business, of your revenues, of your costs. Reread it and see it. Read it again. What does it say? Proverbs 27, verse 23. Downwards.
Know the state of your flocks.
Know the state. Now that we are not talking flocks, let's talk material, money.
Yes. Know the state of your finances.
Of your business.
Your business.
Yes.
And put your heart into caring for
the state of your business.
Of your business.
And accounts and finance.
And accounts and profits. For riches don't... Is that right?
Yes, please.
For riches don't last forever, and the crown might not be passed to the next generation.
So I can as well say you will not always make profit. And then on the other side, you will not always make what?
Losses.
Continue reading.
After the hay is harvested, and a new crop appears, and the mountain grasses are gathered in.
After you've drawn in all your revenues.
All your revenues.
And counted the costs.
And counted the costs. Your sheep, your profits will provide wool for clothing. Your goats or business will provide the price of the field.
You will buy plots.
And you will have enough goat's milk for yourself and your family and your servant girls. You will have profit. You will have... you will go for a holiday.
Thank you.
Yes.
to relax so that you may think better, right?
Yes.
That's the way. If you don't do that, what are you being? What is the word we used?
Childish.
Childish. Those are hard statements. But they have to be said. The truth has to be laid bare so that we may understand it. So there is no work that always makes what? Profit all the time. There is no work that makes all losses all the time. The balance between profits and losses must always be attained. So be balanced within you. It's extremely important. And that's why I like these guys when they chose to take a path of saying we are going to create an accounting what? Software, which is affordable. They said, okay, this guy is here, this guy is here. Please raise up, this guy is here. They've done it, I've seen it, those guys there. They've developed software. For them, they are in IT. And they've developed accounting software. And please feel free to get in touch with them. I've known, I've punched holes in the thing, and no, this is, I said, no, this is, I've been very conservative, and making sure I find every single hole. And I think they've done a good job so far. So please, count all what? Costs. And we talked about the spiritual cost already, isn't it? And please don't do business so that it ends up costing your family. I've seen people doing business and losing their... And when they lose their families, they lose their mind. And they end up losing their businesses as well. And that's okay. So when we talk about family sense, we really, everything, the full package must be carried on. There are times when I advise you guys, you had better sell off your business so that you save your family. Why? You've failed to balance yourself up. Okay? Yeah. So whatever you are doing, let it lead to a healthier family for you. Not a broken family. Please. You wake up in the morning, every morning you go and work to make more money. And then the money begins to do what? Break you up. No. That's not the intention here. It's not to cause someone to make so much money and lose himself. So count all the revenue. Count all the what? Revenue. And then revenue minus costs equals what? That's the way. That's the way things work. So you get money and we minus what? All the costs. What remains is the profit. And by the way, it can be positive, it can be negative. No problem.
Remember that you're engaged in a family sense gathering, which is dedicated to equipping every man, every woman, every husband, every wife with practical wisdom on family and marriage. I hope you're enjoying yourself.
So you get money and we minus what? All the costs. What remains is the profit. And by the way, it can be positive, it can be negative. No problem. Let us look at counting the costs. Because you remember, we must count all the what? Costs. Counting all the costs. Luke 14:28.
I'm still on the NLT, New Living Translation. But don't begin until you count the cost. Don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there is enough money to finish it?
Wait a minute. Don't begin doing what? Building.
Without first calculating the cost.
Don't begin doing a business without doing what?
Calculating.
Don't begin farming without counting the what?
The cost.
Don't begin what?
Don't open a bakery
without counting
without
the
counting the cost.
Hey. Don't begin church.
Yes. Without counting the cost.
Don't run a church service without what?
Counting the cost.
No, I know there are no people here who... You understand, eh?
You know?
Count the cost. Pastor Michael, how much does the church service cost you in terms of electricity? I'm not saying anything else. We are just discussing.
We're looking at batteries. For the microphones. We're looking at batteries for the keyboard, just in case
Yes, eh?
power goes. We're looking at the guitar also needs a battery. So it's quite a cost.
Good.
Yes.
Let's keep going. You understand these things? Thank you. Count the cost. Now what happens if you don't count the cost?
Verse 29. Otherwise, you might complete only the foundation before running out of money, and then everyone would laugh at you.
Continue reading.
They said, they would say, there's the person who started that building and couldn't afford to finish it.
Hey. Counting the cost. It's very central in God's system. And in counting costs, you look at the cost of delivering what? Products and delivering the services. You are giving. And please, we don't want this to be mysterious. And the other cost you read, you count, cost of operating the business. It doesn't matter which business it is. Pastor Michael can read for me in his version of the Bible, Luke chapter 2, verse 49. What does it say?
And he said unto them, How is it that ye sought me? Wist ye not that I must do my Father's business?
Who is that asking those questions?
Jesus Christ.
Was he a businessman?
Yes, he was in business.
I want to portray him as a businessman. How did he conduct his business? And he's the same one who keeps talking of count cost, do this, do this. So there is God's business. And how do we run God's business? He says, okay, Riz Patab. But yes, church is business. And I'm unashamed of that. But it's God's business. How is it meant to be run? Those are hard words to speak, especially to kindergarten minds. But I leave it at that for now. Counting all costs. I will not emphasize the spiritual costs and counting it. I will not emphasize the social cost. We are dealing with material cost in this case. Why? Because we want to look at the material rewards. You must have enough spiritual, enough strength in your body to go to the deeper end. We are going into real detailed things, but they are necessary. Amen. Some things are strange to us because probably we have also not been exposed to them. And how will people know the truth except that it is preached to them? How will people know the truth except that it is spoken aloud? Allowing evil to speak has allowed us to be dominated by that evil. And let there be, even if it means a lone voice, but the impact of a lone voice with the Spirit of God can reform a nation. It happened long ago. It happened in the time of Jesus. He was almost just like alone, with a multitude of others who were always arguing against his principles. And yet he was revealing the truth. It also happened to the prophet Elijah. The righteous who were very seriously interceding for Israel were hiding in caves. They were doing a good thing, but not willing to be identified to be who they are. Those they call about the 7,000. Were they doing something good? Yes, they were. Were they ready to stand and be counted? No. And what happened to the nation? The nation was held in evil and the worship of idols. And one man stood. He couldn't wait the fire burning in him to do the unthinkable and stand. And he said, if you are for the Lord, be for the Lord. If you are for evil, be for evil. But let there be no double-mindedness, double opinion. Take a firm stand. He took a firm stand as one man against the multitudes. But with the Spirit of God, his lone voice had such a powerful impact that it led to the reformation of the entire nation. Shall you be the person? Shall you be the one who shall stand in your line of trade? Whether you are in agriculture, you set a standard in agriculture. Whether you are pastoring, you set a standard of pastoring. Whether you are in IT, you set a standard of how IT should be done. And a righteous standard at that point. If you are in educating, a standard of educating. If you are in fashion, your target should even be removing those funny things which make people look very indecent. Stop complaining about how people are not dressing properly. Stand up if you are in that calling and set a standard of fashioning. Call it proper clothing if you want to. And you set the standard. And you move by it. We need some people who are ready to set a standard. If you are dealing with pharmacy, be ready to set a standard. I'm setting a new standard. If you are dealing in market, please do so. Wherever you are, it doesn't matter what industry or what sector you are in or what business you're doing or what work you are involved in. Set a standard. Don't downplay yourself. Say, God, here I am, I'm ready to move. Are we together? And we are counting the cost. We are doing what? Counting the cost. And there are some very important things we have to learn about counting the cost. And please, these things as we share them, we want them not and never to be mysteries. Is there any mystery so far in what we're sharing together? Everything should be down to us. And that was the Lord's intention, even from the very beginning. If it's a sermon in church, it should not remain mystery. In fact, he talks about it in Deuteronomy 6:20. What does he say? In Deuteronomy 6:20, I might start from verse 18. He says, verse 18, do what is right and good in the Lord's sight, so that it may go well with you, and you may go in and take over the land that the Lord promised on earth to your forefathers, thrusting out all your enemies before you, as the Lord said. And then verse 20 says, in the future, when mercy asks you, when Jotham asks you, what are the questions of the children? When Josiah asks you, what is the meaning of the stipulations, the decrees, and laws the Lord our God has commanded you? That's a question. And many times children ask these questions and we don't clearly explain to them. And what does it mean? What do they look out for? The meaning. Don't just give them memory verses to merely remember. Grant them a fullness and clarity of meaning of that word. That's the standard. Other than just read the word to remember, to memorize, to put in there, without having clear meaning? No. Not mysteries here. It actually should be the standard of every sermon. So that things are not what? Mysteries. Look at Nehemiah chapter 8. That is, even when you read the Bible, that is how you should read the Bible. The standard of reading your Bible, not just verses to thank yourself that you know a verse which you are going to share with a street person. Meaning. What does Nehemiah 8:8 say? Look. They read from the book of the law of God. And what happened? Besides reading, further than reading, making it what? Clear. And giving the meaning so that the people could understand what was being read. So it's not merely picking verses to put together a sermon that sounds interesting. It's drawing the meaning of God's word. And even as you read your Bible, don't just read, I need to read my Bible. I must read my Bible every day. And then you read it every 15 minutes or 1 hour. It's okay to read like that, but that's shallow. Give it your heart. Then you'll find the meaning. And its meaning is so plain and clear. If I want to give a sermon, things must be clear. Pastor Sikisa, do you see where God expects us to do? Hey, so that we don't just give people nice words to hear, to make them feel good. Look, he even talks about that in Ecclesiastes. The message continues, the same message spoken in different ways, but without changing the meaning. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 9 and verse 10. Listen to what he says. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 9 and verse 10. It says, not only was Pastor Michael wise, I want to bring it to life, right? Yes. But he also imparted knowledge, and I want to add the word, knowledge of the truth to the people, the congregations. He imparted what? Knowledge of the truth to the congregation. He pondered in his time of meditation, seeking God to guide him, and searched out and set in order many proverbs. And the Pastor Michael searched to find just the right words. And what he wrote and even shared was, first of all, what? Upright. And secondly, truthful. That is the standard of the calling. And if you thought that is for Pastor Kisa in church, your work is meant to actually express God in everything that you do. How together? So we are talking in search for meaning, so plain, so clear, that it is unmixed.
Family Sense is on a mission of teaching God's truth for reforming marriages and building families throughout the nation. Stability of our nation can only be realized with well-founded families and marriages. We therefore invite you to engage in Family Sense gatherings. Should you have any questions or need specific assistance, please feel free to contact us on 0772 518 554 or 0754 73 4738. You can also email us on noregrets@counselor.com. God bless you. We look forward to seeing you next time.